I'm gonna kill you, Mr. Gant. Because I know now that you've come to kill my father.
Audie Murphy spent the 50s playing clean-cut heroes in B-movie westerns. Then he made this film and played one of the most unsettling villains the genre has ever seen. Murphy's character is a gun for hire, but he's got a method. He shows up in a small town and lets everyone know he's been paid to kill someone, but he won't say who. Then he just waits. He watches people, pokes at their secrets, plays on their guilt, gets under their skin. Eventually, someone cracks under the pressure and draws on him first. Murphy kills them in self-defense and walks away clean. Technically legal the whole time. The fun part here is watching the town tear itself apart. Nobody knows who the target is. Could be anyone. Old grudges surface, people turn on each other, and Murphy just watches with this calm little smile. The tension builds and builds because everyone's a suspect, including maybe the person you thought was the hero. Audie Murphy was the most decorated American combat soldier of World War II. He had severe PTSD for the rest of his life. In this movie, he plays a calm sociopath who manipulates people into destroying themselves. The filmmakers knew what they were doing when they cast him. Everyone says Stagecoach made John Wayne a star, and they're right. But Tall in the Saddle came out a few years later, and it's not like any Wayne Western you've seen. It's not structured like a typical Western at all. Wayne plays a cowboy who rolls into town and starts quietly investigating the death of his new boss. He's sorting through suspects, piecing together motives, figuring out who's lying to him. It's more of a murder mystery than a shootout picture, and there's two women competing for his attention the whole time, which is funny because Wayne's character opens the film by saying he has no use for women at all. Basically, it's a clever mystery western that plays completely differently from what you'd expect. Gary Cooper found out Walter Brennan had been cast as the villain, and he tried to quit the movie. He was convinced Brennan was going to overshadow him completely. He sent a formal letter to producer Samuel Goldwyn saying he was only performing under protest. He was absolutely right. Cooper plays a drifter who gets accused of horse theft and dragged before Judge Roy Bean. He's a self-appointed lawman who runs his territory like a personal kingdom. Bean is corrupt, dangerous, and has this bizarre obsession with a British stage actress he's never actually met. He collects pictures of her, talks about her constantly, and God help you if you say anything disrespectful about her in his courtroom. Cooper does solid work here, but the movie belongs to Brennan from start to finish. James Stewart made a bunch of westerns with director Anthony Mann, and Mann had a specific idea about what he wanted to do with Stewart's image. Jimmy Stewart was America's nice guy, the trustworthy everyman. When you saw Stewart in a movie, you knew he was going to do the right thing. Mann wanted to use that against the audience. In The Far Country, Stewart plays a selfish, self-interested loner who refuses to help anyone. There's a corrupt judge terrorizing a frontier town. People need someone to stand up for them, and Stewart's character just won't. He only cares about his own business. You sit there watching, waiting for Jimmy Stewart to step up and be a hero, because that's what Jimmy Stewart does in movies. And he doesn't. Scene after scene, he doesn't, until it's almost too late. It's the opposite of what westerns usually give you, and it makes the whole thing feel unpredictable in a way that most westerns aren't. It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Glenn Ford against Edward Robinson. Barbara Stanwyck caught between them. Cinematography on par with Red River and The Searchers. This should be a classic. Ford plays a former Union soldier who just wants to sell his ranch and settle down somewhere back east. Robinson plays the ruthless rancher who wants Ford's property and doesn't care how he gets it. Things escalate until one of Ford's workers ends up dead. Stanwyck plays Robinson's wife, and she's cheating on her husband with his own brother. All of that adds up to a story with real weight. Ford starts as a man who just wants to walk away from everything, and the movie slowly corners him until walking away isn't an option anymore. Robinson makes a compelling villain because you can see his logic, twisted as it is. The action holds up, the performances are excellent across the board, and the film looks gorgeous. All the ingredients were there for this to be remembered alongside the great westerns of the era. Instead, it's a footnote. One of those movies you stumble across and wonder why you'd never heard of it. John Wayne wanted this role badly. It was written specifically for him. But Wayne hated Harry Cohn, the boss of Columbia Pictures, and that hatred ran so deep that he walked away from a part just to avoid working with the guy. So Gregory Peck got it instead. Peck plays Jimmy Ringo, a legendary outlaw who can't escape his own name. Everywhere he goes, some kid wants to prove he's faster. Ringo's tired. He just wants out. He wants to disappear somewhere and live a quiet life. And at the end of the movie, he gets shot in the back by some nobody looking to make a reputation. If that story sounds familiar, it's because the Shootist did almost the same thing 26 years later with John Wayne, an aging gunfighter who can't escape his past, trying to find peace before the end. The Shootist is remembered as one of the all-time great westerns. It was Wayne's last film. He was actually dying of cancer while shooting it, and there's all this symbolic weight about an icon saying goodbye. But the Gunfighter did it first. The filmmakers walked into the studio with a strange pitch. They wanted to make a film noir, but set it in the Old West. Something in the vein of Out of the Past or Crossfire, those dark psychological thrillers that were popular at the time, except with horses and six-shooters. Robert Mitchum would star, which made sense because he was already a name in both genres. If anyone could sell a Western that felt like a noir, it was him. The plot follows a broke cowhand who gets called in by an old friend to help settle a cattle dispute. When he arrives, he realizes his friend has been lying to him. There's a scheme to swindle local ranchers out of everything they own, and his friend expects him to help. Now he's stuck between loyalty to someone he's known for years and knowing that what they're doing is wrong. There's a legend about a man named Moses Rose who was the only person to leave the Alamo before the final battle. Whether it's true or not, this movie takes that legend and builds one of the cruelest dramatic traps I've ever seen around it. Glenn Ford plays a soldier at the Alamo. The men know they're going to die, so they hold a lottery. One person will leave to warn their families about what's coming. Ford's character draws the short straw. He doesn't want to go. He argues against it. But he's been ordered to leave, so he leaves. Here's the problem. Every single person who was in that room when he drew the short straw dies at the Alamo. Every single witness is dead. So when Ford's character shows up in town as the only survivor, people assume he's a coward who ran, and he has no way to prove otherwise. That's the whole dramatic trap of the movie. A man who did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he can never prove he isn't what people think he is. Ford gives one of his best performances here. It's a shame nobody watched it. Henry Fonda, Anthony Quinn, Richard Widmark, Dorothy Malone. 4 big names in Westerns all signed on for this one. Fonda and Quinn characters are basically fictionalized versions of Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. They're hired guns brought in to clean up the town of Warlock. But this isn't a story about heroes riding in and saving the day. The whole movie is structured so the saviors slowly become the problem. Quinn's character has built his entire life around Fonda's gunfighter. He's the sidekick, the partner, the guy who's always there. So when Fonda meets a woman and decides he wants to settle down, Quinn can't handle it. To him, it's a betrayal of everything they've been together. And then a woman shows up. She's someone Quinn rejected years ago because he chose his life with Fonda over her, and she starts working to turn the town against both of them. This movie runs 73 minutes. They filmed it in 18 days, and that's the whole point. Ride Lonesome was part of something called the Ranone Cycle, a series of westerns shot on tight schedules with tight budgets. The idea was to strip the genre down to its absolute essentials. No filler, no padding, just story and character and landscape. Randolph Scott, one of the great Western icons, starred in most of them. In this one, he plays a bounty hunter escorting a prisoner to California, but the prisoner is just bait. Scott is really after the prisoner's brother, played by Lee Van Cleef. The whole movie is Scott using one man to lure out the man he actually wants to kill. 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, tight as a drum. Proof that you don't need 3 hours and a massive budget to make something great.